Karen calls police on black teen. Regrets it when his mom walks in with an FBI badge. Downtown Chicago. 4 in the afternoon. Winter blanketed the city in silence. Snowflakes drifted slowly through the air, settling on crowded sidewalks and the hoods of yellow taxis. Skyscrapers loomed above like silent sentinels, their windows glowing against the gray sky. On Randolph Street, nestled between a tailor and an art gallery, stood a high-end jewelry store, Vincent & Company. Inside, the air was warm but sterile. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, shelves lined with velvet and glass. A jazz instrumental played softly, as if afraid to disturb the hush of money. The front door creaked open. Bell chimed. 16-year-old Jalen Carter stepped in, his breath caught in the warmth after walking through the cold. He wore a thick navy winter coat zipped to his chin and a knit hat pulled low. His shoes left faint, melting tracks on the pristine floor. He paused just inside the doorway, looked around, took a breath. Only a few customers lingered. An older man in a suit inspecting cufflinks, a couple examining engagement rings, and a woman, middle-aged, white, draped in a tan fur coat, standing near a display of gold necklaces. Jalen checked his watch. Just a few hours left. Maya's birthday was tonight. 11 years old. He had been saving tips from his uncle's diner for 3 months just to afford a gift. It had to be special. She deserved that and more. He moved quietly through the aisles, his fingers grazing the edge of a glass case, stopping when something caught his eye. A small silver pendant. A 5-pointed star, simple but elegant. Maya loved stars. She said they made her feel safe when the world felt loud. Jalen smiled to himself. His heart raced a little. He waved gently to the store clerk. "Excuse me, how much is this one?" The clerk glanced over. $129, he said. Sterling silver. Handcrafted. Jalen nodded. That was almost exactly what he had. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded envelope filled with crumpled bills and coins. He held it tightly. It had taken so long to earn this. Missed weekends, late nights, burnt fingers and sore feet. Across the room, Karen Whitmore had stopped pretending to browse. Her eyes followed Jalen's every move. She tilted her head and narrowed her gaze. She saw the envelope in his hand. She saw his nervous glances. She saw the dark skin, the hoodie beneath the coat, the careful, polite tone in his voice. She did not see Maya's birthday. She did not see the dishwasher shifts or the quiet pride. She only saw threat. Karen slipped her hand into her purse and pulled out her phone. She turned slightly away, her voice low and urgent. "There's a black teenager here. Looks suspicious. He's been pacing, watching people. I think he might try something." Vincent & Company, Randolph Street. Jalen did not notice. He was too focused on the pendant. He imagined Maya's face when she opened the box. Her gap-toothed grin. The way she would throw her arms around him like she always did. Her laugh echoing down the apartment hallway. He felt warmth in his chest just thinking of it. He turned to the clerk again. "I'd like to buy this, please." The clerk smiled and nodded. But just as he reached for the box, the moment shattered. Distant siren. Then 2 more. Closer. Louder. Jalen turned toward the sound. A patrol car skidded to a halt outside. Another parked just behind. Blue lights flickered against the boutique's windows. The door burst open. 2 officers entered, boots loud on the marble. Officer Matthews. Mid-40s. Broad shoulders. Cold eyes. Sergeant Doyle. Taller. Silent. Right hand resting near his belt. The room froze. Karen stepped aside, eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "That's him," she said. Matthews locked eyes with Jalen. He moved toward him slowly, each step echoing. Jalen's face fell. He looked from one officer to the other. "What's going on, sir?" Matthews' voice was flat. "We got a call. Report of suspicious behavior." Jalen's eyebrows lifted. "Sir, I'm buying a gift. For my sister." He held up the envelope of money. Nothing in his voice was loud. Nothing was rushed. No aggression. No fear yet. But it did not matter. Matthews stepped closer. His hand rested on Jalen's arm. Let's step outside for a minute. Jalen pulled back slightly. Why? You match the description. We need to ask you some questions. I didn't do anything. The clerk began to speak. Actually, Matthews silenced him with a glance. Doyle reached for the cuffs. Jalen flinched. Please, I swear, I didn't steal anything. The store had gone silent. Everyone watched. Jalen's heart was pounding. His palms were sweaty, his mouth dry. His eyes scanned the room for help, for someone to see the truth. But Karen crossed her arms, and Matthews took another step. Outside, snow kept falling, and somewhere not far away, a black SUV was speeding down Randolph, siren off, moving fast. Inside it sat a woman, hair tied back, suit crisp, eyes unblinking, an FBI badge clipped to her belt. She had just received a call from her son's number. Heard voices, then silence. She was 2 blocks away. She would not be silent when she arrived. And no one in that store would forget what came next. The cold marble of the boutique's floor pressed against Jalen's knees as he sat on the bench near the back wall. His hands were not yet cuffed, but Sergeant Doyle's grip remained firm on his shoulder, keeping him seated. His coat bunched awkwardly around him. He did not resist. He did not cry. But his eyes were wet, not from fear, from something deeper. Humiliation. The weight of being looked at but never truly seen. Across the room, Officer Matthews stood with arms crossed, unmoved. He stared down at Jalen like a judge waiting for a sentence to be carried out. Procedure, he said to no one in particular. Just following protocol. Jalen opened his mouth, but I did not do anything. His voice cracked. The store manager, Mr. Chin, had emerged from the back after hearing the commotion. He was a small, quiet man in his 50s, with silver-rimmed glasses and a calm presence. He stepped between the officers and Jalen, his palms raised gently. Officers, I have been watching this young man. He did nothing wrong. He was polite. He asked about a pendant. He had money. There was no theft. No threat. Matthews barely turned his head. We received a report. We have to investigate. Karen Whitmore, still wrapped in her expensive coat, let out a smug hump from the other side of the store. She stood like a queen who had been proven right. I knew it, she muttered. Jalen looked up. What did you know, ma'am? Karen lifted her chin. That boy's like you don't walk into places like this with good intentions. Mr. Chin turned sharply. Excuse me, ma'am. That is entirely uncalled for. Karen shrugged. You can believe what you want. But I trust my instincts. Jalen's throat tightened. He blinked quickly, trying to hold back tears. Not because he feared arrest, but because he had dared to believe something better. He had dared to imagine a normal day, a simple gift, a smile from his sister. And instead, this. Outside, snow continued to fall. Then silence, followed by the low purr of a large engine. A black SUV pulled up in front of the boutique, its tinted windows obscuring everything inside. The passenger door opened. A woman stepped out, tall, black, dressed in a long navy coat that billowed around her like a cape. Her boots clicked on the pavement. Her presence was sharp and deliberate, like the calm before a storm. Her eyes scanned the storefront, and then she walked in. The bell chimed again. This time, no one looked up casually. Everyone turned. The air changed. Naomi Carter stepped through the door, eyes locked on the scene before her. Her face showed no panic, no anger. Only precision. Authority. She moved with the confidence of someone used to walking into rooms and being obeyed. She saw Jalen first, sitting, held down, his face pale, his eyes full of something she had seen in far too many young men. Then her eyes landed on Matthews, on Doyle, on Karen. Her voice, when it came, was quiet, but it cut like ice. Who here just tried to put their hands on my son? Matthews blinked. I beg your pardon, ma'am. Naomi took another step forward. And who made the call? Karen suddenly found the floor very interesting. Jalen's eyes filled again, but this time the tears came from somewhere else. A swelling in his chest. He sat straighter. His back stiffened. He felt warmth spread through his ribs. Matthews tried to regain control. "Ma'am, we received a report." Naomi held up a leather wallet. Her badge gleamed under the lights. Naomi Carter, Special Agent in Charge, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Chicago Division. "And that young man is my son." She stepped toward Matthews, stopping just a breath away. "You were about to put handcuffs on a 16-year-old boy in a public store with no evidence, no weapon, no aggression, because a woman said she felt uncomfortable." Matthews swallowed. Sergeant Doyle lowered his eyes. Karen finally spoke. "I was only trying to keep people safe." Naomi turned to her. "Safe? You saw a black boy and decided he must be a threat. Not because of what he did, but because of what you feared. Because of what you believe you saw." Karen stammered. "I didn't mean." "You did mean. That is the problem." Naomi looked back at Matthews. "Do you know how many lives have been ruined by exactly this kind of ignorance?" Matthews had no reply. Naomi continued. "Do you know how many mothers I've sat with? How many cases I have investigated? Where fear became violence. Where assumption became injustice." Silence. Jalen stood now. He walked slowly to his mother. She placed a hand on his shoulder. The touch was soft, reassuring, powerful. She looked around the room one last time. "You owe him more than silence." But no one spoke. Karen looked down. Matthews looked away. Jalen looked up at his mother and saw the woman who had raised him to believe in right and wrong, who taught him to never run from who he was, who wore her badge not for power but for protection. He stood taller. The pendant still rested on the counter behind him. Mr. Chen stepped forward. "This one is on the house," he said gently. Naomi nodded. But Jalen pulled a few bills from his envelope. He placed them carefully on the counter. "No, I want to pay for it." He picked up the box. And for the first time that day, he smiled. Jalen stepped out into the cold once more. The city had not changed. The streets still gleamed with snow. Cars rushed by with headlights cutting through the fading winter dusk. People passed, bundled in coats and scarves, their eyes fixed forward. The world had moved on, but something inside Jalen had shifted. His hand clutched the small velvet box in his coat pocket. The pendant inside no longer felt like just a birthday gift. It had become something else, a symbol, a quiet triumph, a star that reminded him to keep shining even when the night grew cruel. Naomi walked beside him, her gloved hand gently wrapped around his. The sidewalk was slippery, but their steps were steady. Jalen looked up at her. "Do you ever get tired?" Naomi smiled softly, but it did not reach her eyes. "Every day." "Then how do you keep going?" She stopped, turned to face him. "Because I have you, and because I know what they want us to do. They want us to fall silent. They want us to become angry, cold, hard. They want us to stop caring. And when we do that, they win." Her voice lowered. "You must never let them turn your heart to stone." Jalen looked away. His breath came out in a white mist. "What if I already feel it happening?" "Then fight it, baby, every day. Fight it with kindness, with dignity, with truth. Do not become what they expect. Become more." They stood there for a moment longer, mother and son, not speaking. Then Naomi gently squeezed his hand. "Come on, we've got a birthday to celebrate." The warmth of their apartment greeted them like a familiar song. The smell of baked macaroni and sweet cornbread drifted from the kitchen. Streamers hung in the living room. Balloons floated gently across the ceiling. And in the center of it all stood Maya, 10 years old, bright eyes, tiny socks on the wooden floor. She ran toward her brother the moment he stepped through the door. "Jalen." He crouched down and caught her in his arms, lifting her as she giggled and wrapped her arms around his neck. "I thought you forgot." He pulled the box from his pocket. "Never." He handed it to her. She opened it. Her eyes widened. "A star?" Jalen nodded. "Like you." Maya looked at it, then at him. "But it's real. So are you." She hugged him again, and for the first time all day, Jalen let himself exhale. Dinner was full of laughter. Naomi told old stories. Maya danced to music playing from the old radio in the kitchen. The city outside went on spinning, but inside that apartment, time stood still. Later that night, after Maya had fallen asleep with a necklace around her neck, Jalen stood by the window. He looked out at the skyline. The city glowed. Tall buildings reached for the sky. But beneath the lights, darkness lingered. In alleys, in systems, in minds. He thought of Karen, of her voice, her eyes, how quick she was to fear him, how easily she could have destroyed his life with just one call. But he also thought of Mr. Chin, of the officers who said nothing but later stepped aside, of his mother, of Maya, and of himself. He touched the window pane. It was cold, but he was warm, because somewhere inside him, something was burning bright. Not anger, not bitterness, something stronger. A flame, dignity, pride, purpose. The world would not change in a day, but people could, and so could he. He turned from the window and whispered to the quiet room, "I won't forget who I am. Not ever." Sometimes a pair of handcuffs can stop a boy's hands, but they can never stop his heart. Sometimes a badge is just a symbol, but sometimes it is not the title you carry that defines you. It is what you do when no one expects you to rise, and when you choose to shine anyway. That is when real leadership begins. That is when change begins. One voice, one choice, one star at a time. If this story moved you, if it made you think, if it opened your heart even just a little, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Here, we tell the stories that don't always make the headlines, but live quietly in the lives of people. Stories of pain, of hope, of strength. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next voice, the next moment, the next story that might just change how you see the world. And if this story meant something to you, share it. Let others feel what you felt, because change begins one story at a time.